I've heard it come by many times this week. Anthropic is introducing watermarks in the AI generated text. Now, this reminds me of the time I was working at a university as a software engineer. It was 2023, ChatGPT just came out, and I was talking with a peer, and he told me that teachers are having new problems. They don't know anymore if the students are using AI to get with the answers or they come up with them themselves. And so there was one particular teacher who had a really clever way of figuring out whether the students were cheating or not. He would build an assignment in a Google Docs document, and it seemed like a normal assignment when you looked at it. But near some of the questions, there was a hidden white text that mentioned that there should be that the answer should somehow contain the word pyramid. And so what ended up happening is that all of the students who cheated with AI, they gave a somewhat reasonable answer, but it had some weird usage of the word pyramid in there. And that's how the teacher was able to figure out who was cheating and who wasn't. Now, this brings us to Claude Watermarking, because the way this is solved is actually quite similar. It made me wonder, how do they solve it? So the first thing that came to my mind is they might add some weird characters in there, and that's how they will be able to detect it. But that will ruin the text and the meaning of the text. You cannot just change words and change text here and there without affecting the text. So then I was thinking, how do they do this with images? And that brings us to images. Now, images with AI, if you have looked at a Gemini image, you must have seen this star in there. Now, that is quite obvious. But another thing that they do is they change a couple pixels here and there, and then you cannot tell if it's AI or not anymore from a human perspective, but the algorithms can detect it. This cannot be simply done with the text. So what they did is they used something called a synth ID, which is a concept developed by Google DeepMind, and it works as follows. Right, so I borrowed these slides from CodeBear. Check out their channel in the link, because I thought they're very explanatory. Essentially, when AI generates some text, it generates it one word at a time. And if you look at the sentence, the movie was really, there might be a couple of options for the AI. And each of these options has a certain chance to occur. Essentially, what we can do is we can give each of these options a number, 0 or 1. And then, so essentially how it works is that the key, it has a certain pattern to it. And you could say that every 1 and 0, they would happen in a certain sequence. Normally a human, they would have 50% 1, 50% 0, but then with AI, every time you would get the same pattern. Now, imagine instead of zeros and ones, each word has a certain digit to it. So whenever you would use these digit combinations and you would combine this with the key, essentially you're gonna get the same number over and over again. And so that's essentially how it works. The question is, how can I prevent people from detecting I'm using AI? So what you can do is you can actually use a different model, like a Chinese model, to rephrase your text, and then it will get different words which don't have the same pattern, and it will be human. Another thing you could do is rephrase it in your own words manually, but that would take a long time, of course, depending on the text. How would you prevent people from figuring out that it's AI generated? Now you know how it works. Please put a comment please add a comment to explain how you would do it.